I was home with my parents, and I was awakened at 6:30 in the morning. Now, I'm not a morning person at all, and I got wakened up by horrific screams. Unimaginable. Can't even describe how loud and painful these screams were.
Tanya Brown, remembering the morning she found out her sister Nicole died, the screams coming from her other sister Denise in a bedroom down the hall.
I then heard my mom in the kitchen. I went down the hallway, and there was my mom, just vacant, just the soul taken out of her, white, just empty, completely empty.
The youngest of 4 sisters, Tanya was 24 when Nicole was murdered. She says she couldn't wrap her head around what was happening. Everything in her world changed quickly. The family immediately took Nicole's children, Sydney and Justin, just 9 and 6 years old at the time.
To tell you the truth, we were trying to make life as normal as possible because we had 2 kids who just lost their mom and technically, may lose their dad at that time. So we were just trying to create some sort of normalcy in the family for them.
Even though a lot of speculation surrounded Nicole's brutal death, Tanya's first thought was random act of violence.
I thought it was a drive-by. It was back in the 90s, early 90s. It's when drive-bys were kind of the new fad, I guess. I remember calling my girlfriend and I said, Nicole's dead. Nicole was killed. And she said, how? And I go, I think it's a drive-by.
As the media and law enforcement began releasing more information, it became clear her sister didn't die in a drive-by. Nicole, recently divorced from O.J. Simpson, raising their 2 kids, suffered multiple stab wounds and some cuts to her hands. The bloody attack, to many, appeared to be an obvious sign of passion, meaning the attacker knew Nicole. But when police began to point fingers at Simpson, her beloved uncle, Tanya couldn't believe it and stayed in touch with him in jail while he was awaiting trial.
You've got to understand that I was in such a disbelief that I didn't really realize that I was talking to somebody who was accused of killing 2 people. I wasn't there in my head. So to me, I was having a conversation with somebody who I've known my whole life.
So in the beginning, you didn't believe that your Uncle O.J. had murdered your sister. No. What changed your mind?
From Nicole's funeral to the cemetery, I was in the limousine with him and the kids and a few of his posse. and I saw the cut on his finger. And I was like, that's the cut everybody's talking about right now.
At that point, she says she started to put the pieces and the timeline together. Then she got an angry call from prison from Simpson, who continued to say terrible things about Nicole. It surprised Tanya. She never knew that side of O.J.
But I think what really did it was the DNA. DNA does not lie.
Superior Court of California, County of Los Angeles, in the matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA097211. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder.
It was like, okay, it is what it is. Nothing we can do. We've got to go get the kids. And that's our focus was Sydney and Justin this whole time. Whether guilty or not guilty, I wanted this to be over so I can go on with my life. That's really where I was at.
The verdict caused more problems for Tanya and the Brown family. Death threats 24 hours a day, helicopters hovering over their home, the media knocking on the door at all hours.
If we were going to have any kind of a private conversation, it would have to be down at the beach, because there were satellite dishes just parked across a vacant parking lot and honing in on conversations of our family.
Unbeknownst to Tanya, her life began to spiral. Aside from the fallout from the murder and trial, 6 of her high school friends died. A decade of unresolved grief included attempted suicide and a 10-day stay at a psychiatric hospital.
Where I was, I needed something in hindsight, but I didn't know where to go. I couldn't eat, and then that inability to eat turned into an overeating disorder. When we don't face the pain and we don't walk through the tornado and we walk around it, either, because you're scared or you never really thought about walking through the tornado, I'm here to tell you, walk through that tornado, because nobody's immune to addiction or psych ward.
Brown wrote a book called Finding Peace Amid the Chaos, My Escape from Depression and Suicide. Because of the tragedy in their lives, her family took on the role of educating others about domestic violence and mental health. Now, 20 years later, she is asking the public to come together to remember those lost to violence.
I encourage everybody to light a candle on June 12th. It's and not just for Nicole, not just for Ron, for everybody. This isn't about Nicole and Ron. This is like about everybody who has lost somebody, who has on any level.